This video is Haltech and wiring. This is the second not so fun job. So painting is definitely the worst job on restoring these cars. And then wiring I'll put second. I went with the Nexus ECU. I got the IC7 dash. All the coils, harnesses, EGTs, tail shaft speed sensor. Pretty much enough stuff to log literally everything. So yeah, and as you can see, this is like the whatever they call it, unterminated harness, and it's massive. There's a lot of wires. It's very scary and intimidating. This thing here is pretty impressive though. I like how it's a relay box, and it's also an ECU all-in-one. It's expensive, but for what it does, it's definitely worth it. Makes wiring a lot easier, and everything else, I like it. Can switch 4 25 amp circuits and 12 8 amp circuits through this, so that's impressive. I don't know what other stuff, I just got a heap of sensors in there. So this is my next job. Haltech and wiring. And the colour dash, I'll set this up here. It doesn't actually fit underneath the dash, like it sits on the column, but it won't go under. So what I'm thinking of doing, I can just sit it right there, but the sun and the glare will probably get a bit annoying, and I don't really want it up here. So I'm going to maybe try to lower the steering column, just so I can get this, because I want to get this thing like right up under there, something like that, just under there, so I don't get glare, and it looks better when it's kind of up under there. So also got my door handles from Rare Spares, rubbers, and I'm still waiting on all the rest of the gear. So the engine block is going to the machine shop next week, I believe. So the engine will be, hopefully have it back before Christmas, but just depending on parts and stuff. That's it. Well, let's get stuck into it. So first job of the Haltech was installing this tail shaft speed sensor on the Diff. It was a bit of a mission. I had to undo the tail shaft, had to undo the pinion. I had to get my neighbour to come over with his 3/4 drive socket set to get that off. Put Loctite on the collar. It's a 2.25 inch collar, I believe. So put Loctite on that, and I just screwed this in just then. This is a Hall effect sensor that picks up the little magnets on it, and I've got around a 1 mm gap between that and the magnets. It lines up perfect. So that was one job done. It was a bit of a mission getting that done, but it's done now, so move on to the next step. Alrighty, so I finally managed to get all my braided stuff in the mail. It's taken 2 weeks to get this, and I've got a heap of different types of heat shrink with the glue in it. So once you use the heat shrink, the glue comes out, which you'll see, and then at the end there's a bit of glue, so it helps hold it to the wires a lot better. And what I've done here is I've trimmed back originally all these plugs, and they had about that much extra of braid on them, so I just put a zip tie further down, chop the braid off, because I don't need to have it's more designed if you're just going to try and use that fireball plug that's like that round, which I'm not going to use, that was supplied. So I've just gone through where all my wires are, and all the wires I'm not using. Probably spent a good 2 hours or maybe even a little bit more just going through all these, but I don't need any of them, and I'm not going to cut them off just in case, you know, I want to use them, you know, like if I want to put EFI on the ute one day, you never know. So I figured out all these pink and light pink and red wires. There's like 1,000,000 of them all tied together. I had no idea what they were, and I figured out they are this top one here, the high current output, pink and red. There's a heap of them. I don't know if they're for injectors or something. They probably are, but I've tied all them up. Gone through more injector wires, a couple of the analog wires I'm not using. These are the ignition wires. There's some for like a V12, so I just chopped them off because I'm never going to have a V12. So just got the 8 ignition wires there, and then I've got they're the 8 amp high current output wires, which I'm just going to deal with when I get them in the car. All the analog wires, crank trigger wires and that sort of thing. So another thing I did with this, which I didn't do last time I showed you guys, was I've marked which wires are going to the switch box and which ones are going to the engine plug. So I'm going to have a heap of wires going to this Diff plug. It's going to be the firewall plug. So every wire that's going to be on the engine is going to go through that, so that whenever I take the engine out, I can just unplug it from the firewall. I'll probably mount it somewhere in the middle here, and once the engine comes out, you just turn that, and then the whole engine will come out with all the wires attached. So, and I think the pins on that are 13 amp rated, each contact pin on the plug. I'm not 100% sure, I'll have to double check. So for the higher amperage stuff running through that plug, so for example, I've got starter motor and the water pump. The starter motor is a Nazir starter motor, I think I've got it in the other shed. It's a high draw. It needs like 30 amps or so just to power the solenoid, so if you just tried using your ignition key, it'd burn it out. So I'm going to use, I think I've got I'll probably use 2 pins on the plug. Hang on, I'll make the plug out different. I know this is a little bit boring, but it's helpful to learn. So down here, I've got starter motor, and water pump just on one, because it's under 10 amps. For the starter motor, I'm just going to use 2 contact pins on the firewall plug, just to be on the safe side. I know the pins can handle more than 13 amps, but like, if you sit there one day and like ever like try and push, you know, say 25 amps through a 13 amp pin, it'll get hot and can melt the pin and melt wires, that sort of stuff. So alright, so that's how I've done all this, and now I'm going to put all these plug it into the Haltech in the car, and once it's all in there, all the stuff that I'm not using, all them wires, I might put all the wires I'm not using, just tie them, I don't know, maybe around that, just push them out of the way, and then all the wires I'm using, I'll just route them everywhere they got to go. And the hard part is making sure you get this stuff on. It's like you got to route the wires where they're going. Put some heat shrink, cut a bit of the heat shrink, run it down the wires first, then run the sleeve over it, and then a bit of heat shrink on the end, and then you can put your plug on the end. And then when you got it right, you heat shrink the... Yeah, show you that. G'day, g'day. I got some presents in the mail. These are just little jet heat torch for the heat shrink. I bought 4 of them because they were so cheap. And I got these coil bracket mounts from Tough Mounts to mount the Haltech coils, so I can set them up and still figure out where I'm going to put coils yet. So I don't know if I'm going to mount them yet or not, but they're going in there somewhere. I managed to get all this put in here. That's pretty much all the wires that I've got to deal with and run through the car. And all the wires that I'm not using, I've just curled up in a ball and zip tied them up out of the way. And you know, just in case I want to go using any of them wires down the track, they're there, so I'd rather keep them than chop them off. And yeah, these are all the wires I've got to deal with, so I'm going to get on my Haltech coils, high output coils, and mount them to those brackets and put them somewhere. And you watch all this mess disappear. So I ended up removing the vent up there, and let me poke the camera up in there because I can't see up in there. The camera can. How are we looking in there? Very good rust one. There's a bit of leaves there. I'll have to try and get them out. Make a mess in my car. Yeah, so I just remove the vent. I'm going to put them wires right over the side now so the glove box will fit. And I just got to make up a round. Turn this thing off. Just got to make up a round plate to bolt back up under there. That is how much stuff came out of the vent. I don't think I've got any dead mice. A lot of leaves and stuff. So I just laser cut a round circle of plastic, and it's got a sticky back, so it's all clean now. I'm just going to tack screw that up there, and there's a little tiny lip here, so you know, technically water should just go down there and go down the drain. So I'm literally just going to peel that off and chuck some screws in and continue back to wiring. So it's very hard to get motivated doing wiring because it's such a shit of a job. But I've just ran a few wires up under there, which haven't really done much. I just keep looking at things and not doing any work, but I'm going to get this switch box wired up. So I've just marked with a bit of tape where the end of the switch box is, and I'm going to get these wires all wired up in the box. So these are the RGB buttons. So these can be made to change colour when pushed. So I'm going to set it up so the e-stop is going to pretty much turn the Haltech ECU on and off on its own separate sort of circuit. As the Haltech has 2 separate wires just designed for that. So I'm going to do that, and then all the buttons I'm going to probably have white. It's more like an off-white with these, but like a white, and then probably green when they're pushed on. So when they're latched in, they'll be green, and then they'll just, when they're just out, they'll just be white. And I'm going to also wire the ignition so that when the ignition button's pushed, it's going to change the colour of the start button to green as well. So I'm going to get stuck into this. It's not the funnest of jobs to be doing. These are the Crimp Terminals. I do sell these on the website. They come with the plugs the way I sell them on the website, but if you place an order and you ask to have Crimp Terminals or plugs and pins with your order, I can give you the pins rather than giving you the plugs that are pre-wired. I also sell these crimpers too, so I think I got them for $60 on the website, and they're good for small gauge crimping, small gauge wire crimping. So I'm going to get stuck into getting this box done, and we'll be back when it's done. Well, I'm not going to lie guys, this was a bloody big job. There's a lot of wires in there that I've got to get sandwiched in the box, so it didn't turn out too bad in the end. It just took a long time. So now I'm going to mount it up back up where it belongs, and this is going to be the earth, which I'm just going to screw to the roll cage, and that's pretty much all the box needs, and everything else is self-sufficient in there. It's time for me to go to bed. Alright guys, I've finally decided where I'm mounting the battery. I've gone from in the tray to in the cab to it's now getting mounted on the firewall. The battery is fairly small and compact. That's the bracket that holds it. And I just installed 4 nutserts, and it's going to sit right there. It's out of the way. I kind of wanted to keep the battery away from heat, but like I read on the website, it's good for up to 85 Celsius, and the engine bay should not get that hot, hopefully. So that's going there. I was meant to get a cable crimper in the mail, which I never got, so I bought it like over 2 weeks ago, so I might have to try and borrow one off a friend. And just for those who don't know what a nutsert is, or how they work, I'm going to show you, because they're pretty cool. This is the nutsert, so it has a 6mm thread, and this is a nutsert gun. How it works is you drill a hole in sheet metal the size of the nutsert, you push the nutsert in the sheet metal, then you squeeze it, and you see how it folds the nutsert like that, and then it pretty much crimps it onto the sheet metal. And then you have some 6mm thread, or whichever nutsert you use, in the sheet metal, so you can screw stuff to it. It's very cool. And they're really cheap. Like, you buy the nutsert kit, that whole kit was like, I don't know, 35 bucks or something, so they're cheap. Alright, I'm gonna install this thing, we'll see how it looks. Boom! Just like that. Fits perfect right there. And the good thing about mounting it there is I don't have to run so much cable throughout the whole ute, because there'll be starter motor, alternator, the Haltech, and that's where all the main cables are. So it's going to be good having it mounted here, so I'm not going to have so much of this big thick ass cable, which is really heavy, running throughout the ute. Alright, I've still got to try and figure out where I'm going to mount the coil brackets too, but I'm thinking I can probably mount them on the front here somewhere. Maybe, if not, up here. Haven't decided on that one yet. I don't even know if I showed you guys the coil brackets yet or not, but These are right here, the Haltech coils, and these are tough mounts brackets to hold them. So my options with these are, maybe somehow mounting them at the front of the engine plate somewhere, if they fit. I won't know until I get the motor in with everything. Or could mount them off the inner guards. Originally I was going to mount them, I was going to have them both up on the firewall here, but now the battery's there, so that ain't going to happen. Exciting. Now I've just got to try and get a cable crimper and get some wires running to the Haltech and try to fire it up and hope everything works. Pulling the bloody car apart, what the hell am I doing? Just put it together and I'm pulling it apart again. For a good reason. I need to drill a hole down here to get the battery to go to the Haltech ECU. When you buy the universal wiring harness, it comes with this big firewall plug. I just put a bit of heat on this to see if it was actually heat shrink, but it is heat shrink, so which is good. So I can get all my cables in there and then heat shrink it, and it'll make it watertight. So there's a 2.5 inch hole. So I'll get the hole saw out. I'm going to do a 2.5 inch hole down in there, and just to get the battery cables to the Haltech, and I'm probably going to put a battery isolator inside the cab somewhere up under there, and I'll probably just run a pull cable somewhere. Had a bit of a brain fart yesterday. I nearly went to Bunnings to buy a hole saw, and I realised that I had a freaking hole punch, hydraulic hole punch sitting in the corner, and I completely forgot I had it. Too many tools, too many tools. Last night I got the vacuum reserve tank for the booster. It just holds like a reserve of vacuum, so I've got that installed, plumbed up. The brake pump, I think it's, I don't know what they're out of, but I just bought off eBay. It's like a little vacuum pump, and I've got a map sensor here plumbed into the tank. So I'm going to have the Haltech turn the pump on and off when the vacuum's where it should be. I'm probably I will clean this wiring up too. There's the factory wiring, but I'm probably going to maybe peel that back and just use the wiper plug for the wipers, and just get rid of the old engine harness plug. I'm not going to use it, and put some fancy braid on it, make it look pretty. Went over to Bosman's, borrowed his crimpy tool, so I can do the leads to the battery and stuff. And I'm going to get stuck into that now as well. I'm going to put a big hole down here, make sure there's nothing on the other side, and I'm just going to run all the wires for everything through that hole to go to everything. Hydraulic hole punch, worked a treat. That's the big 2.5 inch hole in that grommet. So I'm just going to run my wires through that, and I'll probably have to chop it down to the end of it because it sticks out way too far. So I'll probably just cut that heat shrink bit in half, so the wires aren't actually going to sit right up against the GDS flute. It's a good tool, that thing, I like it. Crank. Oh, this is the moment of truth, guys. I've got the cables, another earth going to a bolt, main power going straight through the Nexus. Actually no, to the kill switch, sorry. and then to the Nexus, and yeah, that's the bolt that I've got running through. So the big question is now, will it work? Oh, we're looking good. We got lights. I think I've got to program the dash into that for the dash to work, so I'll be back. Alright, so I finally got it all working. Had to ring Dale Heiler, get him to jump on my laptop and figure out what was going on, because I couldn't get the dash to work, and it was just one of the high current outputs needed to be assigned to the dash. So it's all lit up. Dash is working. My box was working. I don't know what's going on now. No retry. 0.6 volt. Here we are. Pretty confusing. Alright, so this is all the cool buttons. They're all pretty much white, and when they're pushed on, they go green. So that's awesome. Mr. Cornholio. That's cool. And this one here, that literally shuts off the Haltech, just everything. Turn the e-stop on, box lights up, dash comes on. That is awesome. I'm stoked now because I got the hard bit done. Just finishing up some wiring today under the back here. So the Astra power steering pump, I've just got the power going into a 4-gauge wire. It's a bit overkill, but it's got to travel a fair way to get to the battery. So grounded it on a tech screw with a star washer underneath, and I've got the 2 wires to turn the pump on. Some will know, but if you just join the 2 wires together, the pump starts very slow. But if you turn one wire on first and the second one on afterwards, the pump just starts up instantly, rather than having to wait 20 seconds for it to wind up. I seen someone post that on one of the Kingswood pages, and I tested it out and it works. So tail shaft speed sensor, just got that running down here, and wires going up into there. Fuel pump, the ProStar 500. Yeah, it's wired up. Ta-da. That's it for there, and I'm going to get stuck into the all the brake stuff up in behind that guard here. I've got all the brake stuff wired up under there, and the brake lock also. I've pretty much got everything under the back wired up as well now. Actually, let me turn this key on. See, I've got the isolator key down here, and I'll probably just have something hanging out of the flutes for drag racing. Alright, let's get this door open. Just turn the Haltech on. I've got a fitting for the power steering as well, for the Astra pump. Oh yeah. Alright, so this is already on. So I've got the fuel pump. It's all wired up, working. The brake vacuum pump When that gets turned on, you can hear it. And then it gets up to pressure and shuts itself off. And then when you put your foot on the brakes, it turns itself back on, which is pretty cool. There is a slow leak that I spent like an hour trying to chase this leak, but couldn't find it, so it has a very light leak. And power steering, I've got that wired up so that it comes on instant. So I just got into the computer to show you this little whatchamacallit. This is the brake map, and you can see the little crosshair there. That's where the vacuum is currently at, and it slowly drops down. That's the slight leak. And I'll turn the pump on and you'll see that jump up, gets to there, leaked out a little bit, and then I made it so that it pushes the vacuum that little bit further, so the slow leak will come back to here and then it'll turn itself on again. So it's about a minute between itself turning back on, which is better than nothing. So and the power steering, how I've got that set up is I've got it so as soon as this Haltech is turned on with the e-stop, that gives power to the Astra pump, but there's two wires, as you know, and one wire needs power and then the other wire needs power afterwards, and then it instant starts it, and that's how you get the instant start up like that. If that makes sense. Pretty confusing. And I just cancelled it, so it's hooked up to the Wi-Fi currently. Here we go. Alright, so I'm just going to go through and get my brake lock to work through here, and also I want to show you guys, where's the brake pump wiring. So here's the output of the brake pump. This is some of the cool stuff you can do with the Haltech. Right here, the MA, that's milliamps, and that tells you pretty much the amp draw of the vacuum pump. So when I turn the vacuum pump on, it's about 9 amps. So that's how much the brake pump draws, 9 amps. And alright, I'm just going. Alright, so I just wired up the brake lock, and when it comes on, it only draws 1.1 amps, which is stuff all. So it's a very low amp draw. And that's pretty much all I can do in here. I think I've got to do the wiring for the transmission, and I've still got to do the engine wiring, but I'm not doing that till the motor comes back. So I can probably do the transmission. There's a couple neutral safety and converter pressure and gearbox temperature. So they're the three go into the gearbox, and then there's a heap in the engine bay I still got to do, but yeah, I can kind of got to wait until I get things, you know, put in the engine bay. So well, that's pretty much it, I think. I learned something new today. These little plugs here actually clip onto the Deutsch connectors, and they go on one way, which is that way, and they actually click on, because I was putting them on the other way and they weren't clicking on. So I had to go through. I only did a couple luckily, but I had to fix that one up. and there's one's up there, but I can only fix one. The other one's not going anywhere, so I just did the wiring on the box too, temperature and pressure. So originally I was just going to have a converter pressure sensor, which I can still use this as that, but what I'll probably do is when I first get started up, make sure the pressure is right here, and then I can probably link it in up there. I don't really know much about that sort of stuff, but I've got a pressure sensor there for when it comes time. And trans brake, I just grounded it out on the box, and I got a, what do they call these, Anderson plug. It's like a small Anderson plug, so you can just easily pull it apart and put it back together. Perfect. So that's the gearbox wiring sorted, and I've got another wire running up that's going up the shifter hole. That's for the neutral safety. And this wire over here that I just made up is for the trans brake on the steering wheel. I'll show you what I did wrong there. Okay, so what I've done is I actually forgot all about the button when I did all the wiring. So I've got the trans brake button up here wired up, going down to the harness, and now I've got to plumb this in line with that button. So that's more of like a safety button. It's not like a, I don't even really need it with the Haltech, but I put it there anyway. So I'm gonna have to tee this in line with that wire, which is all the way down there. It sucks because you do neat wiring, and if you forget one thing, that is the beginning of the bird nest, and it just escalates from there, and then the bird nest just becomes real. So hopefully there's not too many more of these, because I don't want this to turn into a bird nest harness. Up in here, right up there, that little bunch of wires, one of them is going to be the trans brake wire, and I'm going to have to tee into with this one. I'm just going to put a douche connector on this bad boy. I might just have it hanging out the top of the steering wheel where I've got the dash wires going down, because that'll probably hold the wire in position, and just make it so I can plug it, unplug it and stuff, so I can piss that off out of the way. I'll probably just wrap it around the wheel half the time, but whenever I'm racing I can use that. You know, I went to J car and I got some nice well insulated wire that's not excessively too thick a gauge. Speaker wire, I believe, so that'll work perfect. Just have that hanging out above the steering column, just plug it and unplug it. Alright, I'll be back soon. I'm a huge fan of keeping stuff original and stuff like that, so it was really hard for me to do this, but I had to cut the factory engine harness off because I'm never going to use it. It's a waste of time having it there. It was a mint harness, this one, which is pretty hard to come by. It's usually always hacked up. So I chopped them all off, staggered, and I left the wipers plug on because I am planning on having wipers. So what I'm going to do now is unpin this plug to get the plug off. I should be able to do it through the back. I'm going to pull the wires out, and then I'm going to put some heat shrink on, get it back to here, make it about that long so it'll cover all them wires, and put some braid on and a bit of heat shrink at the end, make it look pretty. Probably should have done that with that one as well, but it's a bit late now. You can just stay ugly looking. and then I might have to try and get some of that. I don't know, I'll figure something out for that. That's it, looks a little bit neater than what it was. Lucky I did take a video too, because I had to go back and see where these went, because when I pulled them out I had no idea where to put them back in, but went back and looked at the video and got on top of that. Cool. What's next? Alright. I've got the trans brake wired up and working. And that sucker actually draws 15 amps, which is a lot more than I thought it would have. And I've got everything else working. I've got the water pump, everything's all done. I just need to obviously install the water pump. I've got all the wiring side for it done, at least. Had an issue with the engine start constantly being on. I didn't know what the hell was wrong, but I had the bump button hooked up and it was stuck on. Well, because I didn't wire it up. It was saying that it was on when it wasn't, so that's pretty much everything I can do here. I just did the transmission stuff. I'll turn this light off. I haven't done the oil temperature, coolant temperature sensor I haven't put in yet. Torque converter pressure. I've currently I've just put that as the main pressure. And transmission oil temp 22 degrees currently. I've got the neutral safety switch hooked up, so that'll say there it's on. Take it out of park, it's off, put it in, it's on. Just got a ground switching that wire. So I've pretty much got all this stuff done that I can. I cannot do any more wiring wise, I don't think, so I've done everything underneath. Trans brake, got pretty much everything done. I've just got to wait until engine's back to do the rest and do the engine plug. So fair amount of work involved in wiring. I'd still rather do wiring than paint cars if I had a choice. Yeah, I'm gonna wrap this up as a video as well, because it's just gonna drag on, so I'll probably, I don't know, come back with another video when I have something exciting to do, which I don't know what the hell that's going to be. I'm just going to put the inner guards back on, get the header tank back installed, and that'll be me done. That's all, and hope you enjoyed me wiring my car, because it's not overly exciting. I'm going to wrap this video up here, and I'll have another video. I don't know, I really need the engine to have another video, I think, because I don't want to keep boring you guys with this petty stuff. So I've got to wait for the front brake lines. We just got to wait for a fitting to come for that. Yeah, some plumbing stuff like fittings. That's pretty boring, but you never know, I might do a video on it, we'll see. But for now, I'll see you later, and I'll just let you know when I let you know.